Understanding the difference between qualified and ordinary dividends is crucial for investors to minimize their tax liability. In this guide, we will break down the key concepts, tax differences, and best practices to help you navigate the world of dividend taxation. First, let's define the two types of dividends. Ordinary dividends are the most common type and are paid out of a company's earnings and profits. They are taxed as ordinary income, which means they are subject to the investor's marginal tax rate. On the other hand, qualified dividends are paid out of a company's long-term capital gains and are taxed at a lower rate. To qualify for the lower tax rate, the dividend must meet certain requirements. The stock must be held for at least 61 days during the 121-day period beginning 60 days before the ex-dividend date. Additionally, the dividend must be paid by a U.S. corporation or a qualified foreign corporation. The tax rates for qualified dividends are significantly lower than those for ordinary dividends. For example, in the 24% tax bracket, qualified dividends are taxed at 15%, while ordinary dividends are taxed at 24%. This can result in significant tax savings, especially for investors with large dividend portfolios. To illustrate the difference, let's consider an example. Suppose an investor receives a $1,000 dividend from a U.S. corporation. If the dividend is ordinary, it will be taxed at the investor's marginal tax rate, say 24%, resulting in a tax liability of $240. However, if the dividend is qualified, it will be taxed at 15%, resulting in a tax liability of $150. Best practices for minimizing tax liability on dividends include holding dividend-paying stocks for at least 61 days to qualify for the lower tax rate, investing in tax-efficient index funds or ETFs, and considering tax loss harvesting to offset gains from other investments. It's also essential to consult with a tax professional to ensure compliance with all tax laws and regulations. In conclusion, understanding the difference between qualified and ordinary dividends is critical for investors to minimize their tax liability. By meeting the holding period requirement and investing in qualified dividend-paying stocks, investors can take advantage of lower tax rates and keep more of their hard-earned money. By following best practices and seeking professional advice, investors can optimize their dividend portfolios and achieve their long-term financial goals.